hero or villain? A lot of people think Candace Owens is a villain. I don't know. She got herself into a little bit of a
pickle
on her way to London. Quality people, make sure you, because we were trying to spread some practical religion. Candace Owens on her show the other day described a situation where she was in the Nashville airport and she witnessed a woman just basically yelling at a police officer. I think in her words, which we're about to hear, she says that she was like basically assaulting the police officer, at least verbally. I'm not sure if she actually put her hands on her or on the police officer, but we're going to see if she's actually a hero like she claims or if she was a villain. So who is the hero? Who's the villain in this situation? And what as quality people can we take away from this to shape our, biblical worldview and to, continue to follow the way, the truth, and the life. Here is the video.
I am barefoot playing in a little open lounge area that they have for children at the Nashville airport with my 2 children. That means I am with a 2-year-old and I am with a 10-month-old. Playing on the ground when I hear a commotion that is taking place feet away from me. Immediately, my instinct is to take my child and to hand my infant daughter over and my 2-year-old son over to the nanny so I can understand what is happening. And what do I see? I see a white girl that is walking up to the police officers, screaming at them, saying that they are going to make her TikTok famous. She then takes her fist and she starts trying to punch this officer in the face as she's leaning back, and the officer is leaning back, avoiding her shots. And of course, a crowd has gathered. Of course, it just happens to be the circumstance that Candace Owens is standing there watching this. And the crowd is saying nothing because the girl is with a group of people that are defending her and telling people that it would be inappropriate for them to record her. At this point, I obviously intervened and I told her that she was inappropriate and that she was a psycho, and you're not going to believe what she said to me, guys. Take a listen.
What? Oh yeah, sorry. What the I swear to God. Record her. She's disgusting. Record her. You should be ashamed of yourself talking to a police officer like that. You should be ashamed of yourself. Hold up.
She said, aren't you a black person?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, it's okay to assault this police officer. Like, you should be on my side. You should hate the police, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, no. That's such a twisted ideal. Like, that's crazy.
Police officer like that. The work that they do to keep us safe. Unacceptable. What the hell was that?
Was she trying to give her a hug?
She was surprised.
I think that was a female police officer too.
Yeah.
So that's crazy that people are so emboldened that they think, oh, the police are so oppressive that they're just all bad. And so the way to, mitigate the situation is to treat the police how they have treated us. But it's really just a handful of bad apples. Now, police have done some really questionable and bad things that have made national news, but that doesn't mean that the majority of police officers are out there, as bad apples. I think a lot of police officers get into the force for the right reasons and go about their daily jobs in a good manner and with good intentions. And so it's sad when it seemed like that police officer wasn't doing anything but her job, just trying to mitigate the situation, calm the person down, and the person's like, no, like, you're a police officer, you're automatically trying to, I guess, oppress me or cause some sort of harm to me, whatever was going on in her head. So it's really sad. Like, it's really sick to our society. So was Candace a hero in this situation or a villain? Because she said this person started, throwing punches and everybody just kind of sitting there watching.
Yeah, so she was like the one that was like, oh, let me say something. I don't think it necessarily needed to be recorded. I don't think everything needs to be recorded.
Right.
But I get why, because it makes great content. But at the same time, if she really meant well and she really meant like, hey, this is wrong, then yeah, okay.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't think you can really put her in like a hero villain category. It's like
Right.
she was
Well, so
acting
let me ask you this.
humanly.
Do you think she was right to stand up for that police officer?
Yeah.
Because I think the common, thing is like, oh, that police officer, they got the gun and they got the taser. But if that police officer were to, even in the midst of being assaulted, use the gun or the taser to stop the situation or the threat, not knowing what the other person had, then especially if that person loses their life, then the police officers as a unit and as a group get villainized all over again. But that doesn't mean that we should stand by and let them do some of the oppressive things that we've seen other police officers do to minorities. And so the fact that people were standing around is just like,
But that's like common
kinda
now.
crazy.
Like if anything bad, like the thing with the girl getting essayed on the subway, no
Oh,
one
yeah.
said anything. They just people pulled out their cameras, but they didn't say anything. They didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's like, why are we like, we claim that we're trying to fight for justice, but all we ever do is pull out our phones to get views on social media. I guess it's a really, really bad situation and mindset that we have in our culture. And so I don't think you can label anybody a hero or a villain. I think it's about either standing for, truth, justice, or, or adhering to the latter and falling into evil and letting this nonsense occur. So let's
She was
continue.
surprised that I was intervening because, as she asks, aren't you black? Aren't you black? I'm calling the police officer a pig. This actually took place at Nashville Airport.
And that's the other thing. Like, we need to stop calling all police officers pigs. Like, that's
yeah,
just
that's wild.
That's just crazy. And I mean, I fell victim to this earlier, especially when the George Floyd thing happened, and I was like, man, police officers are bad. But then I thought about it, and I was like, every police officer that I have met and encountered, because my mom works with, a lot of law enforcement, they all are just want to do their job and want to do it well. I haven't met a police officer. Now, of course, you don't know anybody's true intentions, but everybody's super respectful as long as you're respectful to them. But they're just there to, do their job and to do it well. And that's not to say that there's not bad police officers there. I think there's bad apples everywhere. But that's
Yeah.
why we should always push, good virtues, good biblical virtues. And that's why we're having this quality conversation. So make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, let's get back into this, and you want to stay tuned because we're going to give our thoughts and point out the hypocrisy of, this young lady in just a moment.
In front of me. She's trying to punch a police officer. She's calling him a pig, and she says that he's going to make her TikTok famous until somebody, that being me, outwardly shamed her. And then you hear what she says, I have Tourette's. Oh, there it is, guys. Another mental illness. So the entire world, which by the way, if you have Tourette's, you should be offended. Last I checked, Tourette syndrome did not mean that you want to be TikTok famous and be violent towards police officers.
So she says, I have Tourette's. So was she thinking like, oh, I have Tourette's, so I can't control my body's swinging?
Yeah, I think so.
That
because-
is
But there
trash.
are symptoms of Tourette's where like people just cuss randomly, but I don't think in this case that's what was going on.
Yeah, but even if you cuss randomly or whatever, you would still be like, okay, sorry. Like,
Yeah, because
you
it would
have a
happen
sense
instantly.
of, yeah,
like,
you would have
"Oh,
a sense of, like
sorry,
sincerity
I'm so
and
sorry. Yeah, she was just like, I have
you'd be
Tourette's.
apologetic.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's crazy and that's nonsense. And the fact that people will do something that is clearly wrong and clearly evil and then try to blame it on a condition that they have to justify their actions is absurd. And I think that's a big reason why our culture is in, a spiritual decline, and our culture is spiritually dead. So,
But what do I know? Everybody has a special disorder. Maybe she has some rare new age TikTok disorder. Well, in order to get famous, you have to punch a police officer in the face. I don't know and I don't care.
so yeah, that's Candace Owens speaking. Now we want to point out the hypocrisy of this young lady, because she is essentially putting herself as like the moral authority and saying like, you should be on my side because I'm standing on the right side, the correct side, right, by assaulting this police officer. But then they're doing essentially the same thing that they call out the law enforcement for doing to them. And so why is it right that she gets to do that, or that, people who aren't in law enforcement get to do that to law enforcement? It's like, no, like the way to make society better is to everybody do their jobs. Now, will everybody do that? Probably not. But that's why we need to push good virtues, good values throughout the culture. And that starts with you, the individual. It starts with you, and then you being a good example in your household with whatever role that you're in, whether you're a son, whether you're a father, whether you're a mother, whether you're a daughter. It starts with you and how you carry yourself, because the people around you will start to follow your example, and you will follow their example too. But if y'all are all striving to be, better in a spiritual sense and striving for good virtues, then you'll have a good household, and then that household can expand into the community. The community expands into, hopefully outward into the state. But it all goes back to the individual. We have points though. First quality point from Kenya.
Stand for what is right instead of looking away will revive society. How many times have we seen something wrong happen and not say anything because it's none of our business?
Amen.
And I can be, we all know, like, I'm pretty to myself. So, of course.
Yeah, you're reserved.
Yeah, I'm more reserved. So, of course, like, even me, like, I've done that before. But I think I can be better at that. And my Bible verse is, those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law resist them. So, yeah.
All right. My point is, a main component of being spiritually alive is the taming of the tongue. And this is the biggest problem. This is where the hypocrisy was from this lady, and even from all of us. I mean, I don't think any of us are vindicated from, having a tame tongue. Even Candace Owens. There's things that I don't like the way she necessarily goes about things all the time. I think she's unnecessarily combative in some situations, but that's neither here nor there. But being spiritually alive is taming the tongue. And that leads into our Bible verse, James 3:4-5. It says, or look at ships. So it's talking about ships. James talking about taming the tongue. Though they are so large and are driven by strong winds, yet they are guided by a very small rudder, not rubber, very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great exploits. And so it's really, James goes on to say, like, hey, like, we need to get this tongue in check. Out of basically the mouth can't come curses and blessings. And so he's encouraging us to, gain some self-control, which is part of the fruit of the Spirit, and, really work on gaining a handle on what we say, so that we aren't partial, because that's something that he talks about in the book of James, so that we don't show partiality, but that we can, be actual doers of the law, and that we can, follow the way of Jesus and become, whole in his sight. But that's what we think. We want to know what you think. Let's start a quality conversation down in the comments. If you're watching the replay, you're going to want to watch this video here next. And until next time, don't be so the alpha
and the omega.
Like the algorithm.